Hey, everybody. I'm Candace Cameron Bure, and I have a special guest with me, Tara Simon. We kind of met in an unexpected way on YouTube because she is one of the top vocal coaches in the world. I mean, I didn't want to say in the nation because I think it's in the world. She's a professional singer. She's a songwriter, and she has been on X Factor. She actually has coached many people on The Voice and American Idol. She toured on Broadway when she was 19 years old on the show Fame. I mean, she's multi-talented and she has a killer YouTube channel. I love watching her content. I love watching her videos. I love watching her teach people, and I love your reaction videos. They're so much fun to watch. So I feel like this is a little bit of an unexpected friendship out of nowhere because you're like vocal coach, actress, but you know, I feel like it was just a friendship made in heaven.
I agree. And I'm so happy to be here and so happy that music brought you into my life, Candace. And it is true. You know, you meet some people in the most unassuming, unexpected ways, and you're definitely one of them, but it was a welcome new acquaintance for sure.
I was actually on Tara's podcast that's out right now. You can go watch her podcast, and she's interviewing me, but I wanted to interview her for my channel so that you guys could get to know her as well. And then I really hope that you'll watch both interviews because we'll keep talking, but there's just more. I am fascinated by the music world because it truly is the one talent I wish God had given me. I don't naturally have any singing talent. My daughter does. I'm envious in the best of ways. I feel like a stage mom or something because I love that she has this vocal, beautiful voice. So I love getting to talk to you about this. And I just want to know, like, what was your earliest memory of music?
Oh my gosh. Well, it depends who you ask, first of all. If you ask my mom, it was E-I-E-I-O before I could stand up in my crib or before I could talk. She exaggerates though, so I question that. My personal memory, I remember specifically this, like vividly as if it were yesterday. My mom had a blue Toyota with blue, like, velvet suede weird seats, and I was in this blue car seat. Everything was blue, and she was driving, and I was young enough to be in a car seat, like the real strap-in kind. You know, I couldn't have been more than 3, maybe 2, and we were going through this construction zone, and I was humming, as I always did, in the background. I don't remember the song I was singing, but when we went over the bumps, my mom looked in the rear view, and she was like, "Oh, that was pretty, Tara." And I remember to this day thinking to myself, if I can make my voice sound like that going over the bumps without the bumps, I might be onto something.
Oh, because the bumps made the vibrato.
The vibrato, yes. That's how I learned how to sing with vibrato, by mistake. I didn't have it originally. Like, I'd been singing straight tone till that day. And then I was like, let's try to like remanufacture this at 3 or 2. But that's why I love teaching vibrato now, because you don't have to be born with it. And I'm living proof. I've got vibrato for days now.
That's like one of the questions I want to ask you. You can learn how to have vibrato?
1,000%. 1,000%. And I'm happy to prove it.
Okay. I feel it. I feel a challenge coming on.
Yes.
I feel a challenge.
Yeah.
Tell me about, because you toured on Broadway, you were in Fame. Who did you play in Fame? Like, how was that entire experience? How long were you in did you do the touring company, or you were on Broadway in New York?
So I was living in New York in a women's nunnery on the Upper East Side, and I got the role, and it happened to be the European tour of the Broadway musical. So this was a very sought after audition. I'm telling you, it was the stereotypical quintessential people lined up around the building wrapped. Like, I had 3 other auditions to slate for that day, and I missed every single one because it took me 13 hours to get through that line to finally where I got to sing my like 4 bars of music that they cut it all the way down to. And it was an open call. I was not union or equity. I was like little 19, straight from Florida, like just fresh into New York, you know, kind of wet behind the ears. And this is kind of crazy. And I don't recommend doing this, by the way. Kids, don't do this at home when you're auditioning for Broadway. But I was so indignant over missing all of my other chances to audition for other things that when I got in there and I got a call back, it was the 4-people panel, and they were like, we're going to give you a call back. Would you please come back tomorrow and learn this? And I was like, no. And they were like, excuse
You said no?
me? I did. But wait, I said, no, please give me the music. I'll be back in 10 minutes. And I will sing it for you. I will sing this music for you right now. I didn't know the music. I didn't know the show.
That is ballsy.
It was way too ballsy. Really too ballsy.
But apparently it worked for you.
Well, here's what happened. So I took the music, and then I had realized the error of my ways, you see. And I was like, what did I just do? This is my first shot. Something came over me in there, but I had to stick to it. So I went outside the room, and I saw this girl in the corner of the audition room still waiting, and she had headphones on. This is back in the day when you like had a Walkman or something. And I was like, are you listening to Fame? Because that's what most people did. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, can I borrow your headset for literally 2 minutes? I'll give it back. I took her headset. I took the sheet music. I went into a practice room. I listened to the song that was on the soundtrack, played the melody of the line within the sheet music. So not the whole accompaniment because I'm not that good, but I played the melodic line. I learned that song. Didn't think I really memorized the lyrics, but I knew it enough. Like I pick up music very fast.
Yeah.
I put on a timer for 10 minutes because I was like, I'll be darned if I make a fool of myself. 9 minutes and 30 seconds, I ran to give her the Panasonic Walkman, whatever it was back, ran to the PA outside of the room and said, I'm ready for the callback. I'm like, Jesus, please make me ready for the callback.
I'm like nervous for you just listening to this story.
Again, I don't recommend anyone doing this, okay? But this is the truth. There was someone finishing up their audition. They finished. I walked back in, and to make matters worse, I took in the sheet music, and I stood in front of them, and I nodded for the pianist to start, and whatever came over me did it again, and I dropped the sheet music like mic drop.
Stop it.
And as it's falling to the floor, I'm like, Tara, you're such a moron. Like, I sang that whole song somehow until they cut me off. They cut me off, and they were like, the choreographer, the wife of the director, came up to me after. She's like, okay, we really like you, but we really didn't think you were going to do that. So she told me the next day, can you come back for the dance callback? I said, yes, I can. I like learned my lesson, you know? And she's like, okay, so let me help you out. This is how we want you to dress. We want you to look this way and dress the part. And you're going to be dancing to this. I can't tell you what, but she really like hooked me up, you know?
Yeah.
And this is the worst part of the whole thing was the girl with the Panasonic headphones was in the callback in the next day, and it ended up being between me and her. Aww. And when I got the part, she looked at me, and because she recognized me at that point, she was like, I really shouldn't have let you borrow those headphones. And I was like, I'm so sorry.
Sorry, girl. Sorry. Do you remember like what you auditioned, even those 4 bars, or what you came back at? Can you sing it for us right now?
Oh yeah, for sure. So it was 2 songs, actually. The second day I had to sing the second was the 2 big songs that Serena Katz, which was my role, it was one of the leads in the show, her 2 big songs that she sang are what I did the callback with. The first one was Let's Play a Love Scene. And I'm going to back my microphone. She went, the chorus goes, let's play a love scene. We don't need the violin to play a love scene. Where we see where love begins, if we can find a way to start and play it from the heart. I could go on, but yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I like melt. I'm already melting. I love Broadway. I love theater so much. I love musical theater so much. Like,
same.
I could sit here on YouTube on a screen and just watch you sing all the songs all day long. I'm not even kidding you.
That's so sweet. It's so life-giving to me too. I mean, like, musical theater is home for me in so many ways. And although I don't have the time really to do shows anymore, it was such a wonderful goal. It was a life goal. I went to a performing arts high school, and I was told, like, your name's going to be in lights. You're going to be a Broadway star. And to be able to have that spoken into your life and then realize that dream into existence is something I do know is a true gift, because most people don't get to experience that.
Wow. That's beautiful. Yeah, and special.
It is.
So switching gears
special.
a little bit, because you traveled in Europe on the show.
Yeah.
This is a random question, but do you have any crazy travel stories? Because I always think they're so interesting.
I remember it was around Christmas time, and there's such a magic about Europe and the Christmas markets in the snow and Christmas time. And we were stationed in Basel, Switzerland, mostly in this gorgeous theater that like trumps any Broadway theater you've seen, actually.
Wow.
And bigger and more beautiful and ornate in every way. And I specifically, though, remember the Christmas markets being beautiful. And I also remember being very hungry, because we did 2 shows a day most of the time, and sometimes 3, because we did 9 shows a week instead of 8.
Wow.
So our only break was during siesta. And I know that sounds very Latin, but Switzerland siestas, okay? They closed down. Like 3 to 5 was our break, and there was nowhere to buy food. There was a falafel cart outside the theater, and I would literally buy them in bulk. And that's what I remember eating like during most of my travels and doing the show in Fame, is falafel.
You're making me hungry.
Me
It's
too.
lunchtime
Let's go
here.
have a falafel.
Sounds so good. So tell me again about teaching people to sing. You're saying like anyone actually can learn. Even for me, like I feel like I can carry a tune, but I don't have a pretty voice. My voice is my speaking voice, but like I don't know how to have vibrato. But, you know, if I'm humming along on a Christmas song or singing, like I'm fine. It's fine. But I wouldn't want a microphone and go on stage. And it is possible to train someone to sing better.
Is that your definitive question?
Yes.
Like, let me put it to you in a scientific way. Okay. This is not me speaking. This is science. Okay.
Okay.
3 to 5%. And on average, people actually say 4. So let's just go with what the average is. 4% of the entire world's population has clinically diagnosed amusia. And amusia is essentially, in layman's terms, like this part of the brain that's sort of, if you will, disconnected and simply does not physiologically hear tone or pitch. It's kind of like the equivalent for a singer of being colorblind. You know, as an artist, like a painter is colorblind. It's the same kind of deal where that's just what it is, right?
Okay.
I've trained, at this point, tens of thousands of people all over the world throughout my coaching career. And I have met people who think that they're tone deaf, but I have never met one who's clinically diagnosable with amusia. Not one. So I argue that number may even be lower than 4%. So if that's the case, Miss Bure, then yes, you can learn to sing. Anybody can learn how to sing. Now, you may have good pitch, and like you said, you probably don't have any vibrato, but you're a speak singer right now. And that just means that you haven't flipped the switch of like speaking Candace to singing Candace. You don't know that you have another layer to you, but it's my job as a coach to like turn that part of your voice on. And it's what I love to do, and it's what I do best. So yes, you can.
Okay.
You're very quiet.
I'm very quiet because here's the thing. We taped your podcast first.
Yes.
And now we're taping this one. And I asked you this question on your podcast, really just naively, because I've never asked a vocal coach that. And
look where it got you.
You put me on the spot and we're like, I'm going to challenge you for real. It wasn't planned. It wasn't anything. And well, you got to go listen to.
And see what she says. Yes, you got to go listen to her response.
You got to go listen to my response. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So yeah.
Fun
Spoiler
times.
alert. There is a journey ahead. There's a journey ahead.
Indeed. And I am so here for it.
I'm really scared for it.
I got you, girl.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Yes.
So can you just tell me like a couple of exercises? Do you have one or two that you would tell a beginner to start with?
Well, first I would say this, and this is sort of, I guess, a shameless plug, but it's the most efficient and high value way I can help with that. And I can sing some examples, but I have a Tara Simon Studios app. You can download it on Android or Apple. And that has a free community where you have daily vocal exercises, daily vocal affirmations, and a community that you can post yourself singing. You can and get encouragement and feedback from coaches and other alumni for free. You can get in there and use it as if like it's your daily vocal warm-up, apparatus, so to speak.
Okay.
So the ones that I recommend to do for like beginner singers that you can do literally almost anywhere, even without a track or a piano, are in there. But when I'm in a vocal lesson, so let's talk about like if I were to train you, so to speak.
Yes.
One of my go-tos is an exercise called Z-Zaw-Z, and it's really simple, and it goes like this: Z-Zaw-Z, and then you move up in half-step increments. Z-Zaw-Z, moving up one more time, Z-Zaw-Z, and so on and so forth. I do that for a couple reasons. One, I love that it goes through a fifth of range, the 1 to the 5 to the 1, Z-Zaw-Z. I also love that it goes from a closed mouth vowel to an open mouth vowel, because it's there that I watch the student open their mouths.
Okay.
And I see how wide they go and how long they go. Sometimes I diagnose temporomandibular jaw dysfunction, aka TMJ, in that one exercise because I can see or even hear or touch, if it's a live lesson, a clicking or a disalignment there.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And that has a lot to do with the singer's capability or adversity to open their mouths. So while I'm doing that, I go and I also then diagnose their range capability naturally without any help, so that I have this sort of vocal before and after picture of where they are, so that they can later see, oh, I had a 6-note range when I came to Tara, but now it's been a month and I've got an 8-note range. I'm a full octave now.
Okay.
Singing is very intangible. So a part of a good vocal coach's job is to find markers of tangible progress that you can give to the student. And a lot of that is setting it up at the beginning so that you know and have a medium of where you've come from and how far you've gone.
Okay. So I took 2 or 3 vocal lessons in my life. It was actually a year and a half ago. Okay. And I was just starting, and then my friend Bob died. Not to bring this down, but it stopped the vocal lessons immediately, and it just kind of devastated me for that year. Yeah. However, I will say in the 3 lessons that I had, I kept being told to use my diaphragm, use your diaphragm, use your diaphragm. I'm like, I don't know what that means, use my diaphragm. Right. When you train people, is there language that would feel familiar to me or someone else when I was told that phrase, use your diaphragm, I don't know how to connect that.
You and everyone else, Candace, there's no gold standard for someone to say they're a vocal coach. A lot of times, some people who are really good singers who happen to have the luck of getting like a celebrity client or two to legitimize them, they become the gold standard for vocal coaching when really they don't know how to get their point across. They can just do it themselves. But being a great vocal coach is a twofold chord. It is 1, being able to sing well enough to demonstrate, and 2, being able to impart the mechanics of what you're doing in layman's terms to the person who's in front of you, so that you can get yourself out of the way and get them into full focus for their voice and get some light bulb moments. And a lot of vocal coaches, even who have trained in like vocal ped and music ed, they get stuck in their own identity of like, oh, I've trained and I have vocal pedagogical vocabulary, and you miss the student completely. I don't care to use the word diaphragm. I'll say to a student, if I'm trying to get them to belt, hey, pretend like someone's mugging you and you're yelling at them from across the street. And yes, I said the word yell. Go and do it.
Right. Okay.
You know what that is.
That makes sense to me. Yep.
Right, exactly. If I'm saying use your diaphragm, I'm going to get you on the floor and we're going to be doing like a Pilates move or a plank, because you need to feel it's your abs. Your diaphragm is an involuntary muscle. It's not what gets you support, actually. So everybody says that wrong. It's not going to get a singer anywhere by a coach saying use your diaphragm. They're going to be like, okay, and do the exact same thing they've been doing over and over.
Right.
It drives me nuts.
Okay. Well, this gives me hope. This is really good to know.
I'm really glad.
Yeah. Thank you. So again, go check out the other YouTube. It's a totally different interview. And
I'm interviewing Candace.
you're going to be pleasantly surprised, and you're going to realize what else is happening for us in the future. So,
Yes.
Tara, I would love to finish on this. I know you have a really special story about a young boy named Peter that
Yes.
really changed your perspective on coaching and even your life. And I would love for you to share that story with everyone today.
I love sharing the story. It's my favorite career story, like way more than X Factor, Broadway, anything else, because it's truly a story of how, if you allow him to, God will put people and things into your life that truly changes your heart and therefore changes the trajectory of your entire life's purpose and calling and career. And when I was living in Greenville, South Carolina, I was just a singer, and I only wanted to be a singer. My goal was to win Grammys and to record and to do nothing but singing. And I was on my way, and I was very busy doing singing. But somehow, even though I had a website just for singing, this woman, this mom, reached out to me to teach her son to do piano lessons, of all things. I didn't even advertise voice on my artist page, let alone piano. I don't know how she ended up thinking I could teach her son. But one thing she said in the call when she reached out to me was like, my son's name is Peter. I think he was around 7 or 8 at the time. Okay. She goes, he has Down syndrome, but he is a prodigy piano player. He has small hands, but this child figures out a way, even in spite of his small hands, to reach insanely large amounts of range with his hands, except for when I go to get him trained by professors or people worthy of the rep that he's playing, they all tell me no, that he cannot. And coming from someone whose life is built on auditioning and being told no by gatekeepers who probably have no business telling me no too, I really hate that. It's sort of like a trigger for me. And so I was like, bring him over. I mean, I didn't even have a studio, and I wasn't even coaching at that time. Okay, so I brought him into my living room, and he played me, I don't know, like a 17-page Chopin piece or something like that. I can't play that. It was insane. Candace, it was insane. And I looked at his parents who were standing there next to me, and I'm like, I'm on a level with you. He's better than me, but I can promise you one thing. I will teach him, and I will never tell him no, and I will never tell him he cannot, and I will be super hard on your son because I think he is, like you said, a prodigy. He's amazing. And so I still didn't want to coach, but I wanted to coach this kid. And as I started coaching him, I also started to accept vocal students also, because that's just the natural progression of things. And as Peter and I started to build this relationship, we also built this routine. And every day when he would come in for his weekly lessons, he would ask me, Tara, what did you have for breakfast? And I'm always dieting. So I was like, a smoothie, Peter. And he'd say toasted oats. And he'd ask me, what makes you happy, Tara? And I'd say, you do, Peter. And we would move on with our lesson. So fast forward about a year later, I moved to Atlanta, and they stayed in Greenville where they lived. And I got a call shortly after I moved saying that Peter was diagnosed with bone marrow leukemia. And could I come to the hospital for his first round of chemo? And I packed up my keyboard and I went, and we had a lesson in his first round of chemo. And I was no easier on him than I was in regular lessons. And the nurses were just like, we've never seen this before. This is like absolutely incredible. Peter didn't even notice what was going on. We were too busy practicing piano, you know?
Yeah.
A year later, my business was just booming because as God was changing my heart towards this child, I realized what a high calling it was to pour into a life with really looking for nothing in return, but just the pouring out. And with that, like people, word of mouth, like I had no space. I was so busy. And when we moved to Atlanta, I was driving back and forth weekly to still maintain my students in South Carolina while growing an Atlanta branch, which was very rapidly growing. Yeah. And so during that time, I would still go back to see Peter. A year later, I was so busy in Atlanta that I had to get a space. And the reason I got that space was because of Peter. And so it was so sweet when on January 2nd, I think of that next year, Peter and his family came to Atlanta to celebrate New Year's, and they saw me, and I took them to the studio, and I sat Peter down on my white piano bench, which is also the same piano I started my YouTube channel on years later. And I said to him, Peter, do you know that you're the reason why I have this studio? Do you know?
I do.
You do. Because before you, I hated coaching. And then you came into my life, and you know what happened?
What happened, Tara?
God used you to change my heart. And he did. And from then on, after I coached you, I knew that it was a calling in my life to do what I was doing. And then everything started growing. But before then, not so much. I didn't want it to. So you being here means everything to me because you're a big part of why it's even here. You know that? Mwah.
Love you.
I love you. And he played me a song.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I've told this story so many times, and I legitimately, like, I'm going to be so proud of myself I can do it without crying.
Yeah.
So we go to dinner, and they leave. Months later, I'm in the middle of a really big gig. I'm halfway through a 4-hour set for this really big event with this 10-piece band, and I check my phone in the middle of my break, and it was Ivy, his mom, and his mom said, Tara, we need you to know that Peter passed in his sleep last night. And I instantly had this flashback when she told me that, of this little boy who would, in his chemo, lay down all week because his bones hurt. But he'd get up and he'd come to his piano lesson every single week. And the grit and the tenacity and the determination and drive of this, then at that point, probably 10-year-old little boy, was something that I carry in my spirit every day. And Peter's dream was to reach 1 million views on his YouTube channel where he plays piano. And his channel is Rosé for Music. And I am on a mission to make that happen for him. So whenever I get a chance to tell Peter's story, I say, go check him out. Go check out his music because his legacy lives on. And that little boy forever changed my life. And I now have a son, and I know now that I loved Peter like a son because it's the same type of love I have for Jaden. So that's my Peter story.
That is it's so beautiful. We will make sure that we link Peter's YouTube in the show notes, and we want to get him to 1 million views.
Yes, on any video. Yeah. Thanks for allowing me the platform to share that, because he's a type. Peter is a type of an opportunity when God presents people in your lives to leave footprints on your heart so that you're never, ever the same. And I carry that child and his legacy in my spirit because he truly was used by the Lord as an instrument and a catalyst for change in my life that is a ripple effect into so many others' lives. And when I teach a lesson, I think of Peter. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I love, Tara, that you're a Christian. I didn't even know going into our original podcast interview after we met that you were a woman of faith, and I'd love you even if you weren't. But the fact that you do,
sweeter.
It just is sweeter. And I love that you even view all the things that happen in life as blessings, and from the perspective of the Lord, just teaching us and growing us and molding his heart to be more like his.
Thank you so much. And I love that about you too.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thanks for tuning in today.
Yes, as I wipe the tears from my face.
Yay. This was great. And make sure you go check out Tara Simon's podcast.
Yes.
Watch all her videos, but make sure you see this interview because we have more. There's a to be continued.
A very exciting, so amazing future to be continued. I'm so excited for you, Candace. Guys, go watch it. You'll see what we're talking about.